That's going to make it competitive. Think about that. Shannon Griffith, the coach, joins us now. Hey, Coach, how's it going, man?
Hey, buddy. Pretty good. Just busy Thursday.
I hear you. It is that. Rain coming down there in Evansville, Robert says. Looks sunny here in central Indiana in the Bloomington area. Well, that can always change. How was your go ahead?
I was going to say, is Helena going to impact Saturday or not? That's what I'm hearing, that it could be a rainy day, but I hope for sun and blue skies.
Yeah, that's the possibility that I've seen on the forecast. Rain is a definitive possibility. More on Friday than on Saturday, but it's a noon game, so they could still probably be catching the tail end of that rainstorm that's supposed to come in. That's a concern because Indiana, that means you're going to probably see more run than pass, with the exception of those quick passes, depending on if it's raining or raining. You know what I mean? If it's just raining, it's not going to affect much.
Yeah, that won't affect much.
But if it's raining, you're going to see a lot of running, a lot of runs on the ground.
Well, for the most part, yes.
And hoping that there's not fumbling.
Yeah, the best thing that ever was invented for rain was the synthetic surface that they all now play on, because it drains better, and in some ways you can keep things a little drier. But the thing you worry about with something like this at this time of the year is this type of storm impacting from the standpoint of potential delays with lightning and things of that magnitude, because you've got that rule that for every bolt of lighting hits, you've got to push it back 30 minutes and keep pushing back. So that's why I was hoping that it wouldn't impact, because of that potentiality that comes with it. But hey, we're not weathermen. We can blame it all on them, but it's going to be a good game, exciting game. It will be Indiana's first true test on the schedule.
Absolutely. As Coach Signetti has said, this will be the best receiving core that they have faced, best quarterback they've faced, best defensive line they have faced. Their quarterback is having a good start to the year. They've got a wideout. I forget his name. I put it out yesterday, but he's had over 100 yards in all 4 of his games this year. And so, but you've got a favorite target, so they're going to have to keep an eye on him, obviously. But also, I talked about the weather. If that's an issue, that could impact Maryland's game as well. I'm not sure they have a great running game, but Indiana's defense is going to be tested, especially that second half stat of holding teams to 1.5 points per game in the second half. I think that's amazing. That has to be the best in the country.
Well, yeah, I think Maryland's run game is probably more simplistic in nature than what Indiana runs. I threw a clip up the other day on my Twitter page or X page where I had a blocking play that they ran. It's called counter, but you watch Zach Horton pull around and fit up a guy. If you want to see the most perfect way that you run the counter play, watch that clip on my Twitter page, and it's got a full explanation on it as why this is perfect. And so Indiana has a little bit more, I guess, juice in their running game, meaning that they can do a little bit of everything, whether it's inside, outside zone, kick the ball to the outside, all those things. So, yeah, it's going to be a dynamic game in a lot of ways, irregardless of the weather, in terms of the chess pieces being moved. Coach Loxley's a really good coach. And, the quarterback transfer they got playing now there has added some a more dynamic dimension, I guess you could say, in what they like to do. But both teams are very similar in what they like to do with the tempo stuff. And from a defensive standpoint, Maryland is not as aggressive defensively than what Indiana is, or I haven't seen Maryland, do what UCLA did, where you had a lot of different pressures and different types of coverages and stuff. So from my perspective, Maryland may be a little bit more vanilla of a defense and type of team that likes to keep things in front of them and calculate when they're going to bring pressures. So in that regard, dynamically, defensively, they're night and day in terms of their philosophy.
Yeah, and that would be the problem for Maryland, in my opinion, because Indiana's offense is so multi-dimensional with not only with multiple running backs, but multiple targets to throw at on the short receiving game, much less the deep receiving game. So they can really mix it up. And that is what I see as the difference for this game period. And although Indiana is a 6.5 point favorite on FanDuel, 7 at other places, I think that, again, this is a 14 to 17 point win to me for Indiana.
Well, offensively speaking, if they keep hitting on all cylinders offensively, they are very difficult to stop because of what they have in a run pass game. They're very balanced in that regard, and balance to me is a 60-40 type of mindset on either side of the coin. The best thing that they've got on tape, Jim, is the fact that when teams have heated him up and came after Rourke, they haven't gotten to him. He's gotten the ball in and out of his hands. He knows where he's going with the football. I mean, he did that Saturday with Charlotte when they had some things, whether it was on first down and he had RPOs called and he was able to get the ball in and out of his hands before they could get to him. And even when it's a situational, from a situational standpoint where you're going to get some pressure because it's 3rd and long, the offensive line and backs have done a good job protection. He knows who he's responsible for. And if that defensive player comes on the blitz and the ball is in and out of his hands pretty quickly. So Curtis right now, in every shape and form of a quarterback's responsibility, to me, he's being an A+ on every aspect that you expect from a quarterback to handle on game day.
Absolutely. And that is something that Indiana has just thrived on, is being what I call surgical and being consistent at it. They generally, they're not getting stopped. They've scored on 29 of their 38 drives. That's, as Coach Signetti responded, that's a decent start.
Well, yeah. And hey, I don't think there's an offense in America that wouldn't take that statistical deal of scoring on 29 of 38 drives.
No, it's 200 and what? All right, here's a great stat that I saw Zach Browning from the Hoosier.com put out yesterday, and I retweeted this. So far this season, people, Indiana has scored 202 points. We're 4 games in. In 2021, they scored over that period an additional 8 games, 207 points the entire season. Think about that. Let that soak in for a minute. In 2021, Indiana scored 207 points in the entire season. They've scored 202 in 4 games. With 8 games to play. Now, they're not going to score 77 points again this season, even against Purdue, I doubt. But that had to hurt. Sorry.
Well, here's the one thing too that I think Coach Scannetti's done a really good job of putting a lot of things in perspective. And if I'm going to be a devil's advocate and look at this from a perspective, maybe from his point of view, is understanding that, yes, you play who's in front of you, irregardless of where they're from or what their record is. Your objective is to go out and to win. And they've won handedly in all those games. At the same time, when you look at the schedule, all the teams that they've played thus far, I think the total wins they've had is 3 or 4. And so their one loss record combined is like 3-16 or 4-16, something like that they've played. So from a schedule standpoint, it hasn't been difficult. They have beat teams pretty handedly. UCLA was probably the biggest surprise in terms of everyone thought that was going to be a big time close ball game, and it wasn't. So now you've got Maryland. This is going to be the dynamic test in front of them, and we're going to see how this ball club handles adversity, where regardless of if it's the weather or whether it's things not going well for them initially in a ball game and they get punched in the nose, how do they react? What do they do? So that's going to be the ultimate question mark going into this game Saturday afternoon, is how do these guys handle some of these things that are in front of them?
Yeah, Brian, I agree with you. Rourke is elite at going through his progressions, but he's also elite in not forcing things.
Yep.
He picks and chooses his battles, and usually he makes the right decision. That has been the key. His decision making has been pretty damn good, and his completion efficiency rating is off the charts. He's
It's nuts.
I mean, he's like 78% of his passes or something.
Yeah.
His QBR rating of like 192.
191. Yeah, it's like
I
it's
mean,
like playing college football.
It's a video game.
He's hitting the X correctly or whatever.
It's a video game. These are video game numbers, people. And I don't know how much that slows down this week. I don't know that Maryland has the defense to slow that down. I
don't either. I mean, again, I don't think hey, their offense, Indiana's offense is tough to stop. Let's just face the facts that these teams that are looking at them on film as a defensive coordinator, they have an answer for everything that you think you can throw at them. Because in the 4 games that they've played, everybody's thrown stuff at them and they've handled it with grace and pressure under fire. And that's, if as an offensive coordinator, that's exactly what you want to see. When the storm is at its highest point and people are throwing everything at the kitchen sink at you, you want a quarterback back there that handles pressure with grace under fire. And in a prime example of that, if what you said, Jim, of him Curtis not making the mistake, and not to say that you can find this clip on my Twitter page too, is the 3 plays in around the 10-yard line Saturday, second drive where they had to settle for 3 points. He had 2 pass opportunities in that drive. He threw them both out of the end zone, and I'm sure the general fan was thinking, well, what was he throwing that out of? He was trying to understand that he had 3 points in the bag. Let's not do anything here to be stupid and try to force the ball in a tight window. That's why Curtis Rourke is having the season that he's having right now, because of his mindset and his eyes and progression, all that good stuff. But he hasn't done anything to hurt the football team, and that's why you've got to have great quarterback play in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. And I think Michigan showed that last year and now this year. Look at the difference and what has happened with them. And it has been largely, well, it's not just the quarterback, because there's been a lot of other changes, granted, but they had a solid veteran quarterback, and now they do not. They have a quarterback that generated 33 passing yards last week.
Right.
That was in a win over USC, but that's not going to sustain itself.
No, absolutely.
But that's and again, that's why I still think that Indiana is more than capable of beating a team like Michigan. They're just, I think the people that don't get it, maybe this week will help them see, again, as long as the weather does not interfere, how this offense truly is. And from what I'm hearing, ticket sales have been brisk. I keep hearing, close to sellout type of things, but I'm like, okay, well, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
But look at it, I hope so. But that team deserves that. But I hope the people get to see that this offense is for real, man. What they're doing. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely, sir.
What are your thoughts on the game this weekend? How do you see it?
Well, I do see it. I think it's going to be a tight ball game. I'm not sure that it's a 14-point differential, but I could be wrong. I think Maryland's offense is playing really good, kind of like Indiana. I try to watch the Michigan State game because that is a little bit more comparable for the two teams that are going to play this Saturday. And Michigan State has a young quarterback, and he did exceptionally well in that ball game, and they won at Maryland. So I'm going to give it, a 10-point differential. I think Indiana wins something like 35-24 or something in that range.
So you think that Maryland's going to score that much on this defense?
I think they could. Yeah, and I think the reason why is I think they're going to test the corners with some shots down the field. No team has done that consistently yet this year, but I think Maryland will. And Prather's another receiver you got to worry about. He's the kid that tore him up a year ago in Maryland, and I just have pause for concern just from the standpoint it's a good offense, and Michael Oxley knows how to attack defenses. So, yes, I do think that they could put 20 on the board.
We'll certainly see. Coach Shannon Griffith, appreciate you joining us, my brother. We'll see you Saturday after the game.
You bet, your partner. Have a great week, everybody.
You bet. You as well. We've got more coming up here from the Hard Truth Studio.